KCBR AM Monument, K253AH Colorado Springs,
95.7 FM, K239CH Colorado Springs.
And good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Lunchbox. It's your main man, Big Mike, all right? And we are going to be talking today with
Dave Jackson from CaveSim.
From CaveSim, all right? And so what part, well, first of all, what is CaveSim?
Yeah, so we have this really cool cave that is in a trailer, and it's kind of like a video game crossed with a cave. So kids and adults can crawl through it, and they explore this fake cave. And you know that game Operation that you play where you're trying to not make it beep? So it's kind of like that. So you're crawling through there, and you're trying to not touch all the fake cave crystals and all the fake cave critters and things like that inside the cave.
That is pretty cool. Now, how old do you usually have to be to do the CaveSim?
We usually say that kids who are younger than 5, we want them to go through with a parent or a responsible sibling who will help them out. I have a 2-year-old, and he goes through there just fine, but he goes through with his older brother who's about 6.
So is it scary for your kids?
No, it's not intended to be scary. It's really, sometimes little kids do get a little bit intimidated by it, but we tell them, I work with a lot of schools, so we tell them, teachers don't do scary stuff. So, it's basically a teaching cave for them to learn about what caves are like.
Okay, and so what, to learn about stalactites and stalagmites?
Exactly, stalactites, stalagmites, bats, salamanders. We have all of these cool things in there, and everything inside is fake.
Oh, okay, everything inside of it's fake, all right. Now, how does this tie into the cool science festival coming up October 10th?
That's a great question. So we teach science all the time. That's the whole mission of CaveSim, is to teach people about the science of exploring caves. And with cool science, because it's going to be virtual, we're going to do something really exciting about vertical caving. So we have this really cool tower. It's 12 feet tall. And normally when we bring it to an event, we have kids get in a harness, and they get hauled up this 12-foot tower to learn about how they would explore a deep cave that was up and down. So instead of doing this in person, we're going to be doing a bunch of demos for cool science, and we're going to have the tower, but my kids will be on it instead of the kids at cool science. But they'll do cool demos at home, cool activities at home with friction and ropes and things like that.
Oh, okay. Then, so are you teaching, now when you're teaching the kids this, are you also teaching them how to rappel a little bit?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we teach them about rappelling and ascending, and we teach them about friction and how friction plays a role in these climbing-like activities.
That is absolutely amazing. What has the response been?
It's been really fun. So in the last, we've been doing this for about 10 years, and we've worked with about 25,000 people over that time. And it's been really fun. We've traveled to 18 states, and we do a lot of programs for schools and science museums and parks and things like that. And kids just love it. It's a kid magnet.
Oh, okay. Now, since COVID has happened, I'm sure that you're not going to get as many field trips as you usually would.
Yep, that's true. And so what we are doing is a lot of distance learning, where we're online, and it's just like we're going to do at Cool Science, right? Where we do a really cool demo. It might be where we light old carbide lamps and show them, fire and combustion reactions, while they do a safer experiment at home or at their school. So we're doing a lot of stuff via Zoom and, to try and keep the programs going.
Absolutely amazing. Now, can anybody discover anything in these caves? I know it's a simulated cave. I understand that. But can anybody actually discover anything like that? Are there any creatures or animals in there?
Yeah, so we have fake bats. And when you're going through, if you have a headlamp and a helmet on, right? And so if you're going through and you shine your light on the bat for too long, it will wake up, and it doesn't scare you, but a recorded voice will talk to you and teach you about the bats. There's a fake salamander hidden in a little corner, and if you find the salamander, if you get too close to it, it'll give you a point off your score. So it's kind of a game, right?
Yeah.
And the idea is that it's teaching you, hey, don't touch the salamander, because if you touch it, you've got oil on your skin, and that oil will cause the salamander to stop breathing, right? So each thing that they do that's not quite right, each thing that they discover if they interact with it in the wrong way, they'll learn from that.
That's amazing. Now, whose idea was CaveSim?
Yeah, I came up with it myself.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
It's really fun. And I came up with it in about 2008. I was doing what's called cave rescue. And that basically means search and rescue, except you're underground.
Yes.
And so I was doing this rescue training in Glenwood Springs. And there were firefighters and EMTs and search and rescue guys. And we're actually in a real cave, right? In Glenwood Caverns. And I discovered that some of these guys and gals who were in there, they didn't know anything about caves. They knew more than I did about, medical and rescue and things like that, but they were breaking the formations. And I thought, okay, so I have an engineering background. I'm going to take what I learned in engineering school, and I'm going to put that together with this problem to solve the problem of caves getting wrecked. So that's how it started as a rescue training device.
So how about that? So you said the EMTs and anybody else that will go in there and they're trashing the place. You're like, don't touch that.
Yeah.
And they're looking at it like, dude, what's wrong with you? You're like, you don't understand.
Right. It takes 1,000 years per cubic inch for some of this to grow. So picture like a golf ball is going to be like 2,000 years, right?
Okay, you blew my mind. Say that again.
Yeah, so a formation, a cave formation, like a stalactite or something that's the size of a golf ball, is going to take about 2,000 years to form. About 2,000 years to grow.
Why so long?
Because, you go into Cave of the Winds, right? And if you go in the back there where it's, it hasn't been touched as much, you see a drip hanging from the ceiling. How long do you have to stand there before that drip falls? You got to stand there a long time. And these things grow drip by drip. It could be, many minutes between each drip, and each drip only brings on a little bit of what's called calcite. Calcite is limestone, basically, and that's how they grow.
And that's how they grow.
Yeah, and one of the things that's super cool, you were asking, can people discover stuff?
Yes.
So in real caves, things are still being discovered about how bacteria that live on these formations can cause them to grow in weird, twisty ways. And so that's ongoing science.
Wow.
And it's really cool because I get to talk with scientists who are, much smarter than I am about how the formations grow, and I get to look at their pictures and I replicate, using my sculpting techniques, I replicate the cool stuff that they find in caves, and I put that inside of CaveSim.
Wow. Now, when you're sculpting them, are you using a 3D printer?
I haven't gotten a 3D printer yet, and the reason is that they have only a finite resolution, right? It's make little steps, and so I really do more of a sculpture, so that it's smooth, and really looks like the real thing. We'll get there eventually with 3D printing.
It sounds like this thing is way too much fun. Where's CaveSim located at?
So we have a warehouse over on Hagerman Street where we build these systems, and we don't own our own permanent installation, but we did build one for City Rock Climbing Gym. So underneath City Rock Climbing Gym, there is a cave system that's about 225 feet of tunnels, and we built all of that for them. So if, when you get past COVID, if you want to check out CaveSim, you can go to City Rock, or if you want CaveSim to come to your school, you can go to cavesim.com to look us up.
Now, when you were going to the schools, all right, what were the kids' reactions?
They absolutely love it. You get these pictures, we have photographers who come and such, and you get these pictures of kids just with awe on their faces. It's just joy and awe. And the reason is, they're sitting in school, and, here's this guy who's come with this really cool thing, and he's just totally interrupted their school day with something super exciting and, intriguing that they get to explore. Now, for adults, for their teachers, it's helpful for them to know the kids are always learning. So yeah, it's super fun, but we're, and the kids don't even know they're learning, right? Because we're teaching them, we're feeding them all this cool information about geology and, biology as they're having so much fun.
That is something else because, as much as I like science, I really wasn't into earth science that much. Like picking up a rock and, hey, this is a piece of this, and it did this, and this. I don't know, for some reason that just didn't appeal to me. All right, and so this right over here, I think if I would have had something like a CaveSim, maybe you could have turned earth science around for me a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And what's super fun is that, we try to make it as exciting as possible. So we're lighting stuff on fire, right? And, we're with carbide and talking about chemical reactions. And so it's not just earth science, right? It's physics and biology and chemistry. We tie in all the sciences because we think, hey, one kid like you, right? You're not going to be excited about earth science. You're maybe more interested in art. We have tie-ins to art, things like that as well. Ancient cave paintings where the kids can do their own rock art.
Oh, I never thought about that, but you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you were just saying something about chemistry and caves. How does chemistry and caves mix together?
Yeah, think about when you are breathing and you breathe out CO2, right? Insects under the ground, they breathe out CO2 also. When it rains, that CO2 mixes with water, and that forms an acid. and it's the acid that eats away at the cave tunnels that causes them to form. So yeah, there's totally earth science, exactly like you said, but there's this chemistry component. So what's cool is if you take vinegar, and your listeners can do this at home, get some rocks from their yard, right? Some different looking rocks. Get some vinegar and drip the vinegar on the rocks, or put the rocks in the vinegar and see which ones bubble and which ones don't. If you have rocks that bubble a lot, those are cave rocks. So that's limestone.
Really? Man, look at me in earth science. Where were you when I was growing up to learn this stuff, man? This is actually really cool.
It is. It's
okay,
super
because I
fun.
was sitting here thinking, CaveSim, okay, maybe we'll talk about 5 minutes. What else are we going to do? But this thing is actually really cool and interesting. Now, am I the first one to ever have this kind of reaction?
No, we work with all these different organizations around the country, museums, and initially they're like, oh yeah, this is just a cave, right? But when they actually see what we do, then they realize, oh, this is really exciting and really cool and fun.
All right, now, real quick, tell everybody once again what's going on with CaveSim, and the Cool Science Festival.
Yeah, so at Cool Science, we're going to be doing a live session where we'll have our 12-foot tower that's set up. It's this big yellow A-frame, and we'll have a bunch of ropes hung from that tower with different pulley setups. And so we'll be showing kids and adults all about how pulleys work, about mechanical advantage. We're going to do some exciting demos where we take a piece of shoelace and we slice through a climbing rope in about 10 seconds. And that's pretty exciting. It's, like somebody thinks of climbing rope as being able to lift a truck, and yet you can slice through that in about 10 seconds with a shoelace. So we're going to do cool demos, but then we'll have a bunch of activities that kids can do at home with string and simple stuff. String and a
With a shoelace? Are you serious?
Yeah, yeah. It's all about concentrating the heat in one spot on that rope, and that rope is made of plastic, and so if you put enough heat, you rub back and forth really fast, and you put enough heat in one spot, you'll be able to melt through that plastic rope.
Now that sounds like something only MacGyver would have known.
I know, right?
Okay, it does, right? You're like, this guy's MacGyver over here.
It's super fun, and it's also super important to know. Let's say you want to get into rock climbing at some point.
Okay.
Right? And you think, oh, hey, I'm going to run a rope up, and I'm going to climb on that rope, but that rope is going to go through another rope. So I'm going to rub one rope on another. Pretty soon, you could actually melt through that rope. So it's really good to understand if you're going to do stuff with climbing or you're going to do stuff with lifting heavy objects. It's really good to know about rope safety and how to use ropes properly.
Now, I can see that you're very passionate about this. So you were an engineer to begin with, and now you do stuff with caves. What actually happened there that you kind of made that transition, or have you always loved both so much?
Yeah, when I went to MIT for electrical engineering.
Oh, okay.
That was super hard, and
Super big brain on you, though.
Oh, I just work hard.
Okay.
But the thing is that I had to work so hard that I needed a break. So I wasn't really into caves before I got there. They had this club, right? They did hiking and all that stuff, and then in that same club there was caving, and I thought, well, I've done the hiking stuff, I've done all the skiing stuff. Why don't I try something new, and I'll try the caving? And I just got hooked on it. So it was really realizing that, hey, these beautiful places are getting hurt by practicing for rescue that inspired me to create a solution for this.
Absolutely, and sometimes that's where the best ideas come from, is finding a solution for things. You're pretty amazing there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I like that. Okay. Hey, folks, unfortunately, we're going to take a quick little break, but we're going to be right back, all right? Then don't go anywhere. This is the Lunchbox right here on Blazin 98.5. We'll be right back.
That means I'm chilling. Blazin 98.5.
And we're back. Wait a minute. That's really hot. Sorry about that, folks. Hey, we're back here on the Lunchbox. Hope everybody's having a great afternoon over here. And we're with my new friend, all right, then, owner-proprietor, right?
Yes,
of CaveSim.
Yes.
Yes, all right. And so we were talking about CaveSim, and it's actually really way cooler than I thought it would ever be, all right? Then because I've never been an earth science guy, but you over there are just kind of making me like, man, maybe I've been missing out. Maybe I'm missing out, because I never thought about it taking 1,000 to 2,000 years to create something. That's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
And it's still happening this very day in 2020.
Exactly. Yes, it is. Yep.
All right. Are there a lot of caves that we still can't go into because we don't know how deep they are or where they go or anything like that?
Yeah, most of the caving that I do is here in the U.S., but I have friends who go to Mexico, and they are going, we're talking about like 4,000 feet, 5,000 feet underground to try and find the world's deepest caves. So, the question could be like, Have we found the deepest cave yet? We don't know, right? So people are, the longest rappels are in Europe, but they're trying to find some of the deepest caves in Mexico.
Is that where I saw and I don't know where it was, all right, but it was literally a big giant hole in the ground, and they had to rappel like thousands and thousands of feet to get down to the final surface, and you see it, and now the hole looks like a little dot.
Exactly.
And it's like, dude, did you really want to do that?
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do find stuff like that in Mexico. And I mean, it's why do people do it, right? They do it because, I've been to places where more people have been on top of Mount Everest than some of the places that I've been. So, it's all about finding these beautiful, unexplored places and learning about them and learning about the science.
Now, unexplored, do you think there's still animals and creatures in there that we have no idea about?
Yeah, totally. So I have friends who work for NASA, and they are cave scientists, speleologists. So you'd say, well, why does NASA want somebody studying caves? Well, think about us going to Mars, right? And
they're going to have
caves? There are caves on Mars. And why do you care about that? Well, if you're on a planet that's as harsh as Mars, if you're going to find life, it's going to be a lot more likely, like bacterial kind of life.
Exactly,
it's going to be a lot more likely to find that in a cave than on the surface.
Exactly.
So there's ongoing research. I was on a call just a couple days ago where they were talking about, a professor from UT Austin was talking about the ongoing research on these bacterial colonies that live in caves.
All right. Now, when we talk about insects and creatures that live in these caves, right, are they opposed to light?
Yeah, it would not be very good for them to take them out of their environment, right?
Really?
I mean, if you took, that's one of the things that you have to be really careful about, right? Is, you don't want to be, if you're a scientist and you're studying some of these species, you don't want to be bringing in bacteria from the surface necessarily, right? So, if you're a really serious researcher, you're going to make sure your gear is clean, right? So that you're not bringing in stuff to introduce into that environment. And similarly, if you take stuff out of that environment, it's going to have a really hard time surviving on the surface.
That's amazing. Now, has there been anything new coming out of these research things that we were just talking about?
Yeah, so there are these crazy formations called Helictites. Think about the word helicopter, right? Or helix, right?
Yeah.
So a Helictite is this crazy twisting formation. And up until, a handful of years ago, we said, hey, it's the wind in the cave, the air moving, that causes these things to twist. Or, it's the, whatever, it's just the rock, right? And recently they discovered, well, no, there are these bacteria that eat the rock, and they assemble little tiny crystal structures on the rock, and that is what causes the formation to twist and go in all kinds of crazy directions.
So there's little creatures that are actually eating the rocks. That's how these little creatures survive.
Exactly, bacteria eat the rock.
Wow,
yeah,
how about that? How tough do they have to be to eat a rock?
I know, it's crazy. Yeah. So what they do is they make this thing called an enzyme, and it's kind of like a zipper.
Okay.
And they, the pull on a zipper. So what the pull on, the pull part on a zipper, if you pull on that, it separates the zipper, right?
Right.
So they make an enzyme, which is like that pull, and it opens up the rock, the chemical bonds of the rock.
Ooh.
And whenever, you think about an atom bomb going off, right? Whenever you break a bond, you get energy.
Right.
So these things have found what we call a niche, where they live in this really harsh environment in the caves, and they can rip apart the rock to get energy out of the rock.
Now, is that something we're looking to do? See if we can replicate it and use it in manufacturing or anything like that?
Well, that's a great question. And one of the things that scientists do is they look for, are there some interesting species that we could use in medical research?
Oh,
so you
there
think
you go.
about, you think about, hey, bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics. Hey, can we solve some of those problems by doing some research on the species that live inside of caves?
Oh, okay. Well, that's something we don't want. I thought we need antibiotics.
You do. And so the deal is if you can study these different bacteria that are resistant or not resistant, you can learn enough to solve the problem.
Oh, that's where you're going.
It's
Okay.
all about gathering information and learning and doing experiments so you can advance the science.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Now, how do you make a clean room in a cave to conduct these experiments?
So, you can go in a Tyvek suit, right? You can go in with masks and things like that. We have a problem with some caves where we're bringing in this fungus, and it doesn't hurt us. It's called white nose syndrome. It doesn't hurt us, but it hurts bats. So if you're a researcher and you're studying bats, you may have to go in wearing a suit and a mask so that you're not impacting the species of bats that live in the caves.
So how about that? So we're actually affecting them.
Exactly. So, the same way that, you might, it's kind of gross to talk about, but you might get athlete's foot, right? That's a fungus. So, this fungus, instead of making the bat's feet itch, it actually kills them. So we have lost about 7 million bats since about 2010. And
because we didn't know we were affecting them.
Exactly. And once it got started, it's a kind of a runaway thing. Yeah, exactly. And people say, oh, I'm afraid of bats. Well, bats help us a lot. They help us by controlling insect populations.
Right.
They help us. I mean, if you like chocolate or you like bananas or you like mangoes, you should thank bats because they help pollinate those plants and they help to spread the seeds. So bats are super helpful to us and we need them.
Oh, yeah, because I heard something about bananas might be going away.
Yeah, it's all about can we protect our pollinators, right? Can we make sure we've got enough pollinators?
That's right, because we know we want to protect bees because we definitely don't want nothing to happen to bees.
Same thing.
Because if bees goes away, man, that's a whole ecosystem of I don't think people don't understand the impact that'll happen if bees go away.
Yep, exactly.
I mean, lifestyles change.
Totally.
If bees goes away, and so how about that with bats too?
Yeah, exactly, same thing.
Circle of life, huh?
That's right.
How about that, folks? So you see, you learn something here in the lunchbox every now and then, all right? Unfortunately, folks, we do have to take another break, but don't worry, we'll be right back. We got some more interesting stuff going on. Don't go anywhere. And we're back with the lunchbox. Big Mike and my new friend David over here from CaveSim. All right, and here's what I want to know, all right? And this is probably really cliche, and I apologize about that, but how has COVID impacted CaveSim?
Yeah, so we've stopped doing all of our in-person programs and we've switched over. I'm making a lot of videos now for schools. And so we've got 9 different lessons and teachers and parents can find them on CaveSim.com. And so we've recorded all these lessons. But in addition to doing the recordings, we're doing live programs for schools. So like just last Thursday, I was doing a school program out in Eagle, Colorado. We do programs all over the U.S. So I've worked with schools in Texas, Oklahoma, Virginia, all over the place. So we know teachers are just totally slammed to the wall. And we're trying to help them out by providing live high quality content, during the crisis. So that's one of the things that we're doing. And the other thing we're doing is building 2 brand new mobile caves, brand new trailers.
Really?
So if you can envision like a 26 or 30-foot enclosed trailer, that's what CaveSim lives inside of.
Right.
And so we're building 2 new systems because we can't spend our time at school. So we're spending our time, doing that instead.
All right. Now they're all going to be the same?
They'll be brand new and different from the current one,
right?
But the 2 of them are the same.
Yeah, okay.
We're copying, but yeah, what's exciting about them is we're fitting more tunnels into the same space by being more efficient. So like the current cave has got 60 feet of tunnels.
Yeah.
These new ones will have 70 feet of tunnels inside.
Whoa, wait a minute. How did you get 15 more feet of tunnels up the same space?
That's a great question. So we're basically packing in more, right? So we got 2 layers to this thing. So kids can climb a rope, they can climb rock climbing holds inside of the trailer.
Oh, wow.
And so, we're just being more efficient and fitting more stuff in.
Now, the way that technology is today, because even you're seeing that now, and I mean that there's YouTube, there's this, there's that, right? Are there still people that are like graduating college and still trying to advance the science of caves, or is it, in 20 years, are we still going to have people looking into this science, or is it decreasing?
That's a great question. So the community of people who are enthusiastic about exploring caves, we call ourselves cavers.
Yes,
that
sir.
community is declining. And that's one of my goals, is to go to schools and to show kids, hey, there's this wild, really cool activity that you've probably never heard of before, exploring caves. And, let's see if you're excited about this, to try to, because I find it really exciting to explore. And so, in terms of the science aspect, though, there definitely are people who are graduating these days who are, studying cave science. So I'm not as worried about, will the science go away? I'm more concerned about will the hobby of exploring caves go away?
All right.
And yeah.
Is that a little scary sometimes, though? Or is that the thrill of it?
Everybody's got their limits, right? Everybody's got their limits. If you don't have limits, then you've got something wrong upstairs.
Okay.
If there's nothing that scares you, you've got some kind of mental problem.
Right.
So, yeah, there are spaces that I go in where I feel like, oh man, this is a little too tight for me. I've been in places where I had to take my helmet off and hold it in my hand, turn it sideways in order to be able to fit through some of these tight squeezes.
Wow.
Not everybody wants to do that, and that is totally fine. But the cool thing about caves is they come in all shapes and sizes. So, there's something for everybody.
Now, do you like it where you have a map and you know where you're going, or do you like it where you really don't know anything and you're like, well, I'm kind of making a map?
Yeah, totally. Making a map is really exciting. And that is one of the things that it's not like you have to do it, but, the culture of the caving group says if you're going to, be respectful of other people, you better make a map as you go and share that map with other people.
Now, do you have technology to help you do that, or
Yeah,
are you like with a pen and a paper to no, there was this here, you got to make was that left or right?
Yeah.
Hold on, okay, I'm turning around. Hold on.
It's both, right?
It's both.
So there's definitely still what we call sketching and drawing. And then, there are people use laser rangefinders, right, to measure distances.
Okay.
Or they use, ultrasonic systems to, ping ultrasound off the walls to build a map as they go.
That is so cool.
Yeah, it's really
So
awesome.
you just stand there, you ping it, and it does the room for you, huh?
Exactly.
And then you make sure you hit the save function, or do you get auto save?
Right, exactly.
Have it on auto. Oh, I didn't have it on auto save.
Yeah.
What do you mean you didn't have it on auto save?
Totally.
Okay, now how does all of this, my friend, fit in with the Cool Science Festival happening? Well, which day are you doing it? Because it's October 10th, and it's for the next 9 days. So which day are y'all doing your event with Cool Science?
Yeah, we're gonna do it on the main day.
Oh, okay. So on Friday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we will probably do some other smaller things throughout the week, and we're really excited about participating.
All right, now can any Joe Blow like me and my family come to CaveSim, or are you totally shut down because of COVID?
Yeah, we're shut down because of COVID. During normal times, what we would say is, hey, instead of coming to our warehouse with all the saws and stuff where we build it, reach out to us and we'll come to your school or your kid's school, right?
Oh.
Or you can go to a free public event. Our events for the public are generally, we don't collect tickets. So we do, we've been doing Cool Science since at least 2011. And, we don't charge people to do that. So I definitely encourage people who send their kids to traditional schools to look at cavesim.com and maybe, pass it along to their teachers. And we can help the teachers with virtual programs. Or once we're past COVID, we can actually bring CaveSim to their schools. We're working on a project now that's exciting where we're putting ultraviolet lights in the ceiling of the cave so that we can clean it between, basically kill any viruses between visitors. So I'm an engineer, and so I'm currently building those circuit boards to build that new system.
I think it's really neat how you took engineering and brought it to the cave world and really doing something really special with it. I think that's pretty cool.
It is really
okay.
cool.
I need an engineer over here. I need somebody to help me brace
Put
this.
your desk together.
Yeah. Help me brace that. So don't go anywhere. Okay.
All right. I'll be
okay.
here.
You got your tools in the car, right?
That's right. Exactly.
Cool.
Yep.
Cool. All right. And so here's what I also want to know. What are so spelunking is part of cave exploration, isn't it?
Yeah, so the word spelunking makes a lot of sense. Cavers were kind of snooty, kind of stuck up, and so we say, oh, well, if everybody knows the word spelunking, we're going to use the word caving. But they mean the same thing. Cave exploration is spelunking, is caving. It's all the same thing. The word spelunk actually makes a lot of sense because if you think about a stalactite or a stalagmite, those are also called speleothems. The word speleo is the word that begins all caving words. So speleothem, spelunk, it's all related to some Latin somewhere back in the past.
Wow. Now, let's say somebody's hearing you and like, you know what? I think I want to do this cave thing, right? Is it hard to get into? Is it not? Is it expensive?
It's really inexpensive and it's really easy. During normal times, what I would say is look up the Southern Colorado Mountain Grotto on Facebook, Southern Colorado Mountain Grotto, and it's a club, and you can go, and the trips don't cost anything. You've got to get some kind of helmet and maybe some $4 knee pads from Home Depot. But it's a pretty inexpensive sport, and people are really welcoming. Let's say you're not so sure you want to actually crawl in the mud, right? But you want to kind of get a little bit of a feel for caves. You can go to Cave of the Winds. You can go to Glenwood Caverns. And sometimes they have tours that are more than just walking on the concrete, right? So, they can take you back into the muddy areas a little bit. And that's a good way to kind of, get a feel for, hey, do I want to go to the Southern Colorado Mountain Grotto and get in, in a little bit deeper?
Right. Now, what is usually the temperature of a cave?
That's a great question. Caves, wherever they are, they take the year-round average. So here in Colorado Springs, they're going to be about 54, 55 degrees.
So you need a jacket.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because if you take the temperature, summer, winter, and you average all that together, you're going to get about 54 degrees. When you're up in the mountains, you're up at 11,000 feet, 12,000 feet, you're going to find those caves have ice in them all year round. Because the average temperature way up there is going to be, it's going to be lower than freezing.
So in Mexico,
yeah, they're hot.
They're hotter than
exactly.
Okay.
When I go to
El
Arizona,
Salvador.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I go to Arizona with CaveSim to do programs at the state parks down there, the caves down there are 74 degrees. So you don't need a jacket.
Right. And so, from what you know, right, how many unexplored area of caves are there? I mean, have we even scratched the surface?
I think in the U.S., there probably aren't a huge number of caves that haven't been discovered. I think in places like Mexico, Central America, South America, there's a lot of opportunity to find more caves. I have, again, I don't go on those big expeditions, but I have friends and they do what's called ridge walking. It means they walk along the ridges of the mountains and they will just find new caves every day. And so, I think...
And I think it'd be kind of neat to see, oh, that's connected with that. Oh, okay, so that's really just one big cave.
Exactly, totally right.
Okay.
Totally right about that.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's
so
pretty
I think
cool.
there's a lot to find still.
Are you going to ever go on one of those expeditions?
Yeah, I will. I've got a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I run this small business, and it keeps me pretty busy.
So would that be considered a vacation for you, or is that still work for you? Like, let's say
it would be a vacation.
It would be a vacation?
Yeah. Work is when I travel. Like I said, we've taken CaveSim to 18 states. So, that's work. I travel, and I do go on caving trips,
Right.
when I go and meet my friends and we go. But I always try and make work fit in with vacation.
Now, how did it feel the first time you got a phone call or an email, right? And it was from somebody from another state, and they're like, "Hey, we want you to come down here and do this with for our kids in this elementary school."
It's really exciting, and sometimes people say, oh, we don't have X dollars to do it, could you do it for half of that? And I always look for new opportunities. I always say, hey, let's make it work.
Yeah.
And what's exciting...
See if you can get a couple of more schools in board. That way you're not just going for one school.
Totally.
Maybe you're going for like 7 or 8 schools in that area or close to that area to make it worth your while.
Exactly. In February and March, one of the reasons we're building these new trailers is that in February and March, before COVID hit, we did 33 days in a 6-week period. So that's 33 days of teaching programs in just a 6-week period. And that's a lot, because last year, we in the whole year, we did about 80 days. So in 6 weeks, it's really taken off. One thing that's super exciting for me is when a friend of mine comes back from one of these trips, and they say, oh, I met some local person, and they said, they knew you. And so it's pretty exciting, even in other countries.
Oh, wow.
It's pretty exciting to,
it's like, do you know Dave? What do you mean, Dave? You know Dave, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know Dave.
The trailer, yeah.
I know
the
Dave.
Cave in the trailer.
All right. Yeah, it's a big world, but it's a small world at the same time, huh?
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. All right. Any last words before we get up out of here today?
Just go check out CaveSim.com. There's a really cool video a little way down on that page, and it's got a picture of a girl in a helmet smiling. It's only about 3.5 minutes. It's really fun. You can actually see what the cave looks like on the inside, and you can see this yellow tower that I've been talking about.
Right.
And so that's a good way to understand more about what we're doing.
Okay. And can we also get the lessons from here? Because you said that you have some video lessons.
Absolutely. If you go to the thing that says school programs,
right.
There's a drop down where it says distance learning. So you're going to look for school programs, distance learning, and you can actually get that by, you make a simple login, and you can go and get access to all of that information.
And I like the way that you kind of separated it from elementary, middle, and high school, because the high school ones will get pretty bored with elementary, and the elementary might not understand what the high school kids understand.
Exactly.
So that's pretty cool how you separated it like that.
Yeah, we work with the state standards. Each state has education standards.
Right.
So we work with those standards, and we align our program with the standards for all the way K through 12, so that when we go to a school, we know that teaching time is really important to teachers, and so we're not just replacing teaching time with something fun. It's fun, but they're also learning all the things they're supposed to be learning.
Gotcha. And maybe they're learning without even knowing they're learning.
Totally.
That's the best, right?
It totally is.
That's the best. You'd be like, wait a minute, what did you just say? Where'd you learn that from?
Right. Yeah.
Well, we were in the cave in school. A cave in school. What are y'all doing?
I had a kid come to one of my programs, and he knew all the answers. And I said, how did you know all the answers? And he said, well, this guy came one time to when I was at this other school, and and I was like, that was me. It doesn't matter that he didn't remember that it was me.
Right.
What was cool is he remembered all the answers.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was was he super excited to be there again?
He was super excited.
There it is.
Yeah, that was up in Denver.
There it is. Well, I'm really sorry that this COVID thing hit and that's kind of hindered you from going around to these schools, because it sounds like the kids and even you are having a super great time learning about caves.
Yeah, well, the good news is, we're trying to make lemonade out of the lemons of COVID, right?
Very true.
And be prepared for, expanding when we get past COVID.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, David.
Yeah,
I really do appreciate it. If you ever want to come back, just come on back.
Awesome.
Just come on back. All right there. Hey, have fun at the Cool Science Festival.
Thanks.
All right, folks, that was it. I'm Big Mike. That's David with CaveSim. Make sure you check him out at the Cool Science Festival. We'll see you tomorrow.